And now I'm going to go share screen. And our slideshow. And we're on. All right. So I know that one is with us. We got a couple more joining, but I am going to present all the information that you need for the Costa Rica 2026 retreat. We'll save questions for the end. So if people are popping on later, I'll let them ask questions then. If you're watching this at a later date and you've got questions after, please send them my way if I left anything undone. But this is for the 2026 Costa Rica trip. As many of you guys know, I was just there in 2025 with 18 women plus Kim and I, which was awesome. We had a great time. It's a very cool place. And I'll get into a little bit about the location, but I've been all over Costa Rica, and this is my favorite because it's raw, it's interesting, it's eclectic. There's a lot of interesting things you're not going to get in other places. So while all of Costa Rica is pretty beautiful, this location has a special place in my heart. So next, if I can get the screen to turn, there we go. Okay. So here's the agenda and the goals. Little bit about me, because there's a couple people that don't know me, discuss the intention of the retreat, the location, the rough schedule for the days, which I'll go into a little bit more on that when we get there, the food, special events, one-on-one service options, the pricing, and then I'm here to answer any questions. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Shauna. I'm the owner of EarthFit Personal Training, which I'm currently sitting in. I am part of the community for 46 years now. I'm also a holistic lifestyle and transformation coach, and I am deeply passionate about helping people. I love what I do in the physical, and that's what kind of brings people to me. But my biggest passion now has been what I've created with my Calm Warrior coaching, which is transformational mindset shifts, important questions. And what I always share is subsiding the ego a little bit so that you can come to better conclusions, because the ego is going to block a lot of things. So we don't see results or we hide from ourselves. And so that's a lot of the work that I'll be doing on the retreat. So during the Costa Rica retreat, I'll be offering transformational group activities, breakthrough sessions, designed to shift perspectives, help you identify exact areas where you may feel stuck. One past participant commented that it was the most transformative week of her life. She's 58 years old. That really, really meant a lot to me. And, it's great to hear. And now we're working together for Calm Warrior Coaching, and she's getting a lot out of it. So in a nutshell, this is the promotional poster. It's got pretty much all the information, but obviously people are here for a little bit more. My goal is to bring you an experience that you will never forget. So in travel, I like to bridge the gap between, like, it's great to go places, but if you're in a group, how can we bring movement, which is going to change your mindset, along with the transformational activities? There are different question asking. We do group activities. We're going to have this past year, when I do a variation of everything, self-love and what is self-love, and then a whole sheet about where you stand and what things you might want to add. And people got a lot out of it. So we do a lot of really cool things and unique things, and sometimes emotions come up, which I think is where a lot of the good stuff happens. Really, it's an experience that will grow your heart and mind in a way that you can't imagine until you do it. And one of the reasons that I do these retreats too is because I've been a part of a lot of things like this. And once you grow, you can't go backwards. So you kind of become a new person. And it's very eye-opening when you come back and it's like, wow, I can see life in a different way. And when people explain that to me, it's like, I know exactly what you're talking about, because that's happened to me many times. And really, the other, I think, unique thing about this retreat is that I do work with everybody individually. So prior to going, I'm going to want to know, what are your goals? What are your intentions? What do you want to achieve? Because I'll take the collective transformational activities based on what everybody is looking for, which is cool. Here are just a couple of pictures of us last time and a couple of the snippets of their testimonial. They're, of course, a little bit longer, but really, I think, powerful. testimonials of their experience. So the intention for me, for you to experience during this retreat is self-love, discovery, reflection, decompress, de-stress, relax, get into nature, get away from technology. That's huge, I think, for unwinding. Fitness, movement, yoga, adventure, beaches, excursions, snorkeling, surfing, swimming with dolphin. Now, those are all things that can be experienced. We had a couple people that didn't do any excursions, which was great. They got massages. And then we had some people that did an excursion every day. So it's really just what you want to do. There's acupuncture that's offered, massage, Reiki, and an infrared sauna. There's individual one-on-one holistic lifestyle coaching while you're there, individualized stretch therapy and body work with myself. And then we do group deep discussions for self-exploration. The food is amazing. I have a whole page on that. Then we have a good tribe and good vibes. You'll leave in a feel-good, calm, and peaceful state. And your intention, so when we fill those intentions in, will then become mine. So if somebody wants something specifically, we'll try and make that happen. Obviously, there's some restrictions. So here are just a couple others, photos. Here's the room that we'll be in for, one is the day shot, one is the night, for any movement and yoga, although we'll be hiking off site as well. I love Mary's quote. It felt overwhelming love during one evening practice. It was powerful beyond words. I love it. So here's the location. Costa Rica is not an island. So a few people, came and they're like, are we in an island? And I'm like, no, you're actually in landlocked. So it is in Central America. It is below Nicaragua, where my brother lives. He actually drove 9 hours to see me because it's the southern portion. So we're right above Panama. It's on the Caribbean side. So that's why you've got the Caribbean vibes. The Tierra de Sueños, where we're staying, is located specifically in Playa Chiquita and Puerto Viejo. It is full jungle. We had monkeys waking us up every morning. They were above our heads. As soon as we arrived, they greeted us up in the trees. So you see them everywhere you go. Sometimes they're, there. Sometimes they're not. They travel from tree to tree. It's pretty cool. The Playa Chiquita specifically is a small beach community. We have the ability to walk to the beach. You go down what's their main road. It's not, it's like tiny. And then you take a little walk through a little jungle and you're at the ocean. And this is what it looks like. There really was not a lot of people there. So it was pretty awesome. If you want to check them out, they don't have much on their website, but it is tierradesueñoslodge.com. And you can just look that up too. It should pop up. So it is one of the most famous towns on the Caribbean side. It is popular for backpackers. It is eclectic. It's culturally rich. There's Afro-Caribbean vibes because Limon, which is a town nearby, is a bigger port. So it's just very, very, very unique. And again, I've been all through Costa Rica, and you're not going to get this anywhere else in Costa Rica. So you'll see the breathtaking beaches. There's definitely world-class surfing if somebody is into that or wants a lesson. That's an option. And then you do have the rainforests, and you have sloth. I mean, we saw sloths. I think the first day I wasn't with the people, but they said, "Oh my God, we already saw a sloth." So you will see those kinds of things all the time, but you can step it up by going on excursions and seeing even more. So here are the bungalows. They're right in the jungle. That's, like I said, like where you see these trees in this picture, that's where the monkeys could be. They don't come close. They don't, they wouldn't come near you, but they're around, and they wake us up. So one of the things the guy told us, which we experienced the first day, they're howler monkeys. So 4:45, 5 a.m. And it's just kind of cool because you're there and you're like, oh my God. And then you kind of lie there and go, I can go back to sleep knowing what that is now. But every one has a different theme. They're all pretty close to each other. Like you can kind of scream to another friend's one. They come with a queen. Now I know this because I've been there. A queen and then a twin. So if people are staying we actually had no problems. I didn't know that coming down. And they kind of figured it out. And we're just like, oh no, she decided on the queen and she decided on the twin. But because we know that if you're staying with someone, then we can figure that out before. If somebody has specific requirements, now that I've, of course, been there, it's a lot easier. I know which bungalow is where. If somebody wants to be closer to the kitchen, if they want to be closer to the yoga pavilion. But honestly, from the yoga pavilion, which is the farthest place where I stayed, to the kitchen is 50 yards. So all these bungalows are very close to one another. Every single one has a hammock on the porch. Um, and yeah, you'll see hummingbirds, you'll see toucans, and you'll see oh shoot, I can't remember the name. I should have put videos in the. They're kind of like uh raccoons, but not raccoons. They're all over the place. And again, they stay to themselves as well. They're like their dogs. So the food is amazing. It is local, it's high quality. They do vegetarian, but pretty much everybody that came on the trip added. It's so reasonable. I want to say it's $25 for four, is it four or eight? Four or six, something like that. Add protein. So I did that one, and you get chicken and fish on a couple of the nights, or for us, it would be 5 nights, so 4 or 5 of those nights. And we talk about all that, and I get your guys' information before, but this is literally what every plate looks like. It's amazing. So what's included in the pricing? The 5 nights of accommodation. If you're sharing, if somebody doesn't want to share, that is an option. So I can speak to that person as well. 3 locally sourced meals a day, daily movement, meditation, and transformational activities. If somebody wants to go on the town, they can. We have a lot of flexibility, and I'll go over the schedule, but the town itself, even though we have a store that we walk to, there's actually a really nice store next to us that's got all these really cool decorations and Costa Rican things, and I went in there almost every day. And then there's a store to buy food and wine and drinks and stuff like that if somebody wants them, which many people were enjoying themselves while they were there, so they bring them back to their room, and we were able to keep them in the fridge in the kitchen. But you don't have to. So all of these are optional. And then, of course, the beaches and the amazing tribal community, a renewed you. We did become very close. I do consider in a few days that you're there, everybody bonds. And I'm super excited that I have friends that are from New Fairfield now that I consider friends for life. I've already met up with them a number of times. We go for walks because you really do become close. And I also think for me, what comes up is the exact people that are meant to be there come up. So you get the energy you want, and it's something collectively happens when you're with this group. So that was a really cool aspect of it too for myself. So here's the approximate daily schedule. And one thing before I say where I say slight changes, it's the jungle. So like we tried to have a bonfire, which they offer you as an option, and go to the beach, and the guy was going to light the bonfire, and we were going to take sunset pictures. Well, we tried 3 times. All 3 nights, not that it's raining all the time, but all 3 of those nights that we were going to do it, it didn't happen. Either it was going to rain. So things like that happened. Some of the excursions, if somebody really wants to go on, let's say, a hike, but the day that we're planning it, and it can always be shifted because you can, let's say you really see a hike that you want, and I'll give you guys if you're interested and you're coming, you get the list of all the activities. And the day that you're planning on going, it rains, then you can just reschedule it for another day as long as they have a set amount of people. But all the excursions can be set up while we're down there. I try and get a list from everybody of what you want to do because there are a lot of them. And then I tell them, hey, we're going to try and do this. But things change. Another night we did get rain where the yoga pavilion it was just so wet that we couldn't do it. But that only happened one of the nights, and the rest of the nights, and actually we're going later than we did last year, so there's less of a chance of that this coming year as well. But this is what it looks like. We shift the morning yoga around depending on the day, because if we know that a majority of people are going on, let's say, a long hike, that hike might be leaving at 8. So we know we're going to get up at 6:30, do some movement, have breakfast, and everything is just earlier there. Even if, let's say, you're somebody that sleeps in, we had a couple people that are like, oh, well, I sleep in, and they're just like, I'm just up. And I'm like, because you're so refreshed that they had no problem getting up. So you start getting up earlier and earlier too. That being said, none of this is required. So we did have people that were like, I'm not going to go to yoga today. It's like, cool, this trip is about you. And then there's a lot of downtime. So if you don't go on an excursion, you can do a massage, amazing massage. It's outdoors, really great. I had 2 awesome massages while I was there. You can hear the sounds of the jungle while you're getting it, so that's cool. You can go to town, you can go to the beach, you can take a nap, you can just sit on your bungalow in your hammock. So even if you go on an excursion, most of them, unless it's a longer one, you're home by 1. So you do have a lot of downtime here. And then what we did last year, and I'm going to kind of figure it out again based on what excursions people want to do, is at 5:45 we would go to the pavilion and we'd do transformational work. 45 minutes, I'd start an activity, then we'd all go to dinner together, and then after dinner we'd come back. We'd either finish that activity or do movement, breath work, restorative yoga, meditation, so that people are like kind of zenned out before they go to sleep. But again, it changes with the intentions of the group as a whole. I will say that we had some really fun nights. I don't know if anybody watches my stories, but we had some really fun. We decided to get the Calypso band, which is another thing that people can choose to do. So as a group, we collectively decided to get the Calypso band, and that would be something I would highly suggest for all of us because we had a blast. So we danced, they played while we were eating, and then we all got up and danced. So it was a lot of fun. So here are just some of them. The activity book is actually quite extensive, but you can snorkel and hike in Cahuita Park. You can go zip lining. We had probably 12 to 14 people do that. You can take surfing lessons. We actually didn't have anybody that did that, but like that would be something that I'll probably do next year. I just was too busy this year. You can rent kayaks. You can do bike rentals, and there's like 4 or 5 different hikes. We went to a Bribi tribe, which is a tribe that lives on the land and completely off the land. And I'm so glad I went because I had said to the guy, maybe I'm going to stay and kind of just do some self time. I've got a lot to get prepared for. And he's like, honestly, if you're going to do one thing, do the Bribi tribe. And it was really cool. We from scratch, got cacaos from the trees. We opened them out of the shell. We dried them. We broke them open. We cracked them. And then they showed us their whole process. So it's nice to see a different way of life. Everybody loved that. And then we went to a waterfall after. So there's a few different excursions that you can go do. And we had a couple really brave people. It was an all-day excursion that went whitewater rafting. Teresa and her daughter, actually. So they came back like saying it was a blast. So here are some of the one-on-one services. The infrared sauna, it's there. I would say I love a good infrared sauna, but for me, I want to say they charge like $25 a session. I'd rather go to the beach, but it's an option if somebody wants to do that for a day or two. The massage, I highly recommend. Reiki, the holistic life coaching would be with me. And then they have their own people for Reiki massage, and I will offer stretch therapy and body work as well. So I take care of logistics and coordination. My goal is to make it as easy as possible. We have Zooms as we start getting closer. So like I think this past year we had one in October because people needed to book their trips. So we wanted to make sure if people were coming from the same area that maybe they take the same flight. And then we were going to have one December, but we thought, no, everybody was like, nah, I don't need anything. I'm cool. And then we did one in January before we met. So just to get like, what do I need? Last minute packing, where am I staying? Where are we going to meet? And that sort of thing. The only thing you need to do is book your flight, which again, we'll try and do all together. Tierra de Sueños handles the transportation to and from the airport. And then from the airport, and I'll explain this in a second, to Tierra de Sueños. Last year, I think everybody except for one, everybody decided to come the night before. So that's something that's, of course, not included, but it was a great experience because of the travel. Let's say we leave even at 6 in the morning from JFK, or my flight was 8 a.m. From Westchester. You get there at 1:30. So if we were to go straight to Tierra de Sueños, we've got another 4-hour drive from the airport, and the drive is cool. But that's a long day. So we all as a group opted to stay at a hotel in San Jose at the Hilton. So that was cool. Everybody got to meet. They include breakfast in your hotel, and there's a mall next door. So we all ate dinner at a cool place the night before and then kind of walked around the mall and had fun. So that is something I would throw out to the group as well. And then people decided to stay with one another so that they could split the hotel room or something. But that way, the next morning we left at 8 in the morning, I think 7:38. So we were there the day that we were supposed to be at 1:30. So that would be a 6th night. And one of the reasons, just so you know, we did 7 nights last year. One of the reasons I switched it to 5 was because most people ended up staying the 8th night. And then some people were like, it's just a long trip. Like myself, I stayed. So that's a 9 night. And a lot of people have expressed to me that that's just too long. So for me, I'm like, you know what? You get plenty out of the 5 nights. And then that way, if we add the night on the front end and people even want to do something on the back end, it's still only 7 nights. But then you have that flexibility to go, you know what? No, I just want to get there. And there are small flights. So we had a few people that took from San Jose a little puddle jumper, which is 45 minutes to Puerto Viejo. So that was a really cool view too, because you're coming over the blue water. So, and that their flights, I want to say, are $150. So that's an option if you don't want to drive. So here are the prices. The early bird, which is till May 10th, so obviously that's now, is $18.99. If you book today or within 24 hours, if you know you're coming, then you can put your deposit down of $450, so it actually makes it $18.49. So a little incentive to kind of pull the trigger now. And I do offer reasonable payment plans. So basically around October, and I say somewhere that it just depends on the date, might be November, you can take what's left over after that deposit and you can break it up as little or as big as you want. Or if you say, hey, I want to break it up in 3, then I'm happy to do that. I can do it through the Arquetta system, or I can take check or cash. I think it costs a little bit less if you do check because they have a service fee. But that's kind of the plan. The regular price is going to be $24.99, but last year we didn't even get to there because everyone filled up on the early bird price, and that's why we do it. We kind of want to know who's coming earlier. The only thing I'll say too is don't book your flights until we know it's official. So let's just say we don't get enough, which I do have a lot of interest. So I'm pretty confident that everybody's going to be, we're going to get enough to at least hold it. If I have 6, I'm going. But until I give that go ahead, even if you've given the deposit, don't book your flights. And then if something, God forbid, happened, then you'd get your refund back. If you have to cancel, and I had that happen this year. Let's just say we get to, October and you're like, oh my God, I have something going on and you need to cancel. The deposit is the only thing that's gone, but you'll get everything back. The only thing I'll say too is that I try and give as much back as long as I can fill the spot. So Patricia right here, she jumped on within 3 weeks. So I put up an ad because one of the people couldn't come. She had an emergency that came up and she just couldn't swing it. So she canceled. And I said, look, if I can fill your spot, I'll give you back as much as possible. And, that's what I'd like to do. And Patricia saw it on Facebook, closed Facebook page, and she pulled the trigger. I was like, you go, girl. And we had an amazing time. And her and I actually drove together because of her restricted flight, because she did it last minute. I didn't really have plans, and so we drove back to San Jose together because she had a later flight, and I'm like, look, I'll hang out with you for the day. We'll go to San Jose. We went back to San Jose together, and then I dropped her at the airport at 9 p.m. So things like that too, I'm happy to do. I rented a car, so we had a shuttle to take us from San Jose, but if a couple people are comfortable driving, it's a very different experience than here, then we can also rent a car. So that's that. That's all I got. You guys are muted, but if you want to unmute, if you've got any questions that come up, anything I didn't answer, and of course, if you're watching this later, you can email me as well. Cool. Wow. I guess I did a good job. Um, so if you have anything additional or there's something specific you want to talk about, if you want to set up a personal phone call just to make sure it's the right fit of you, if you've got allergies, by the way, I didn't mention this in the food, they're amazing. So they brought out 4 specific plates for people that had allergies. They will cater to you. So if you say I'm allergic to gluten and dairy, or I try and stay away from whatever, they'll do it for you too. So that's important for me to share. But if you want to set up a time, let me know. And if you've got anybody interested too, we had 3 mother-daughters last year. So obviously they stayed together. We had 2 sets of best friends. and sister and somebody else. So that's a really cool experience too, to be able to, do it with a friend. So if you're at all interested, but you're like, I don't know, I don't want to go, consider inviting somebody. And the other thing too, I'll share that somebody asked me today who's going to watch it later. She's like, are guys able to go? I did not market it to women last year. It just happened to be all women. We had three guys that were going to come and they ended up not coming. And Adam, my fiance, is kind of like on the back burner, just waiting to see what happens, and he might come. So if a couple guys come, then that's what we do. It is not restricted to women at all. The transformational activities will serve anybody and everybody. And honestly, I encourage us all to just, be vulnerable with anybody that's there because they're coming for a similar or, maybe a little different, but a similar reason to get away and see a little change in themselves. So that's all I got. You guys are muted, but if you have anything to share, go for it. If not, I appreciate you being on, and shoot me an email if you've got anything else. I'll be sending the recording to everybody as well. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.